The tale of the Gison Temple as a branch of Mount Hiei. Once upon a time, Gison was a branch temple of Sanjoji. Just to the east, on Mount Hiei, there existed a temple known as Rengeji. During this time, there was a monk named Ryosan serving as the abbot of Gison. He was a man of influence, well known in the world. One autumn in October, the leaves of a tree in front of Rengeji were particularly beautiful. Ryosan, captivated by their color, sent someone to collect a branch. But the resident monk at Rengeji was suspicious and rebuked him, saying, "Although the abbot of Gison may be a virtuous man, how could he carelessly take a branch from a temple belonging to the Tendai sect without permission? This is utterly unacceptable." The servant, unable to cut the branch, returned and reported to Ryosan, who became extremely angry. He exclaimed, "If this is how it is, then let's chop down the entire tree," and sent his followers to Rengeji. Anticipating Ryosan's intentions, the monk from Rengeji quickly cut the beautiful maple tree down himself. When Ryosan's servant arrived and saw the tree felled, he reported this to Ryosan, who grew even more enraged. Meanwhile, GK Sojo, the Tendai sect's abbot, was conducting rituals at Hoshoji Temple. The monk from Rengeji hurried to inform him of the situation, saying that a tree had been cut down. At that moment, the abbot, finding no one to share his burden, became very angry and sent for Ryosan. However, Ryosan, replying, "I am the head of the branch temple of Sanjoji. Why should the Tendai abbot call for me without cause?" refused to comply. This further infuriated the abbot, who called for the local officials and had them write a petition to the court regarding the matter, urging them to act against Gison. Afterward, the abbot declared, "At this time, Gison is a branch of Mount Hiei. We must expel Ryosan immediately." Yet Ryosan dared not to confront him directly, instead hiring the military men known as Chiran and Hiei to prepare for battle. When the abbot heard of this, he was even more incensed and sent two skilled warriors, Eika and Nuzan, to Gison to confront Ryosan. Upon arriving, Eika and Nuzan warned Ryosan's followers, saying, "If you recklessly shoot arrows, it will lead to dire consequences." Seeing this, Ryosan's hired men realized they had no chance and fled to the mountains. Thus, Ryosan was successfully driven away. Following this, the abbot, acting separately, conducted further proceedings against Ryosan. The monks of Sanjoji, feeling unjustly treated, petitioned the court, claiming, "Gison has always been a branch of Sanjoji. Why should it be unjustly seized by Enryakuji? We implore that it be restored as a branch of Sanjoji." As the court delayed in issuing a ruling, some of the monks from Sanjoji ascended to Kyoto and stayed at the Kangegakuen. Upon hearing this, the court was astonished and prepared to take action. However, before anything could be decided, the abbot GK Sojo had passed away. It was then declared, "There will be a ruling tomorrow." Since all the monks from Sanjoji were gathered at the Kangegakuen, the head monk had the authority to decide on this matter. They were staying at a small house near Kangegakuen when, one evening, the head monk heard a voice outside saying, "Someone is coming now. Please step outside for a moment." The monks left, and soon after, a conversation was heard, which led them to think something strange was occurring. After a short while, the head monk called his disciples back, saying, "This is the spirit of the late GK Sojo." The disciples were surprised, wondering how this could be, as they thought he had already passed away, but were too frightened to speak. The next day, when the ruling was to be made, the head monk did not go out, saying, the wind is rising." Due to the absence of anyone to advocate for Sanjoji's claims, the ruling was not thoroughly deliberated. Thus, Gison officially became a branch temple of Mount Hiei. Despite Ryosan's wrongful actions, it can be seen that the strong determination of GK Sojo was significant. Although he had passed, his spirit seemed to compel the head monk to take action. If the head monk had emerged to make the ruling, the outcome may have been different. It is said that everyone came to understand this, and the story of the spirit of GK Sojo became a well-known tale. Thus, the story has been passed down. The tale of the great lord of Buzendai and his judicial insight. Once upon a time, during the reign of Emperor Frake Sak, there lived a man known as the great lord of Buzendai. He was a grandchild of Emperor Kashiwabara and held the rank of the 4th degree, serving as the Minister of Justice and the Governor of Yamato. This man was exceptionally knowledgeable about the affairs of the world, straightforward in character, and astute in understanding both the good and bad aspects of the government. When it was time for appointments, he would first consider the number of candidates from each province and wait to see who was seeking positions. He would evaluate each candidate according to the needs of their respective regions, often saying, that person will likely become the guardian of that province. Although they may strive for righteousness, they might not succeed. His evaluations were widely heard, and those whose wishes were granted would come to praise him after the appointments were announced. Because the great lord's recommendations were always accurate, the people said, truly, this great lord has wise judgments regarding the appointments. Even before the appointments, many would gather at his residence to ask for his opinions. He would answer them as he saw fit. Those he deemed suitable would rejoice, saying, indeed, this great lord is remarkable. Meanwhile, those he deemed unsuitable would become angry, exclaiming, what is this nonsense from the old lord? Surely he must be possessed by the gods of the roads. If a person he had predicted to succeed did not get the position and an outsider did, the great lord would criticize the situation, saying, this is the fault of the public. Consequently, the emperor inquired about what the great lord of Buzendai had to say regarding the appointments, instructing his close advisors, go and ask him. It is said that this man was once present in the world, and the story has been passed down through generations. Thus, the story has been passed down. The Tale of the Diviner from Utagawa. Once upon a time, there was a diviner known as the Child of Utagawa. While stories of the Kamo diviners were not widely known, it was said that this one was entrusted by the young deity of Kamo. The name Child of Utagawa arose because he spoke only of matters pertaining to Utagawa. People from all levels of society in Kyoto came to seek his counsel on various matters, including past events, future happenings, and current affairs. Everything he spoke was remarkably accurate, leading everyone to tilt their heads in awe and respect for his words. Even the high-ranking officials, including the esteemed Hokoin, frequently summoned him for questions. His precise and unembellished responses earned their trust, and they would invite him to their court, offering him a crown, tying a cord for him, and allowing him to rest his head on their knees while being questioned. Whenever his answers aligned with their inquiries, they continued to summon him for advice. However, there were some who did not accept this practice. While it was said that all matters will be accurately addressed, these individuals found it undignified for someone to rest their head on their knees while consulting a diviner. Thus, the idea of seeking guidance in such a manner was seen as inappropriate by some, and this sentiment has been passed down through the ages. The Tale of the Two Brothers and the Flowers of Remembrance. Once upon a time, in a certain country and district, there lived two brothers. After the loss of their father, the brothers grieved deeply, and as the years passed, their sorrow never faded. In the past, when someone passed away, they would be buried in a grave, and the brothers would visit that grave, expressing their longings and sorrows aloud, as if speaking to their deceased father. As time went on, the brothers began to serve the public, yet their hearts were heavy with private troubles. The elder brother thought to himself, I cannot bear this sorrow alone. The plant known as wasuragusa, forget-me-not, is said to make those who see it forget their sorrows. Therefore I shall plant this forget-me-not by the grave. And so he did. Later, the younger brother would often ask, have you gone to visit our father's grave? The elder brother would respond with reluctance, saying he had not. The younger brother, feeling neglected, thought to himself, even though my brother has seemingly forgotten our father, my own love for him will not fade. The plant known as shion aster makes one remember what is dear to them. With this in mind, he planted the aster by the grave and continued to visit it regularly. As the years passed, the brothers heard a voice from within the grave saying, I am the spirit that guards your father's remains. Fear not, I also wish to protect you. The younger brother, frightened yet silent, listened closely. The spirit continued, though time passes, your love for your father remains unchanged. Your brother appears to share your sorrow, yet he has planted the forget-me-not and thus gained its effects. You have planted the aster and gained its effects as well. Therefore, I pity the sincerity of your love. Although I am a spirit, I am filled with compassion. I also have knowledge of the good and bad things that happen in life. I will surely bring you dreams that will reveal what you need to know." With that, the voice ceased. The younger brother, overwhelmed with joy, wept tears of happiness. From then on, he experienced no inaccuracies in his dreams about the events of the day, and he understood all matters concerning his life without uncertainty. This was due to the depth of his love for his father. Thus, it is said, "Those who wish for happiness should plant asters and always keep them in sight. Those who harbor sorrows should plant forget-me-nots and keep them close." Thus, the story has been passed down. The tale of Fujiwara no Koreki and his untimely death in Etchū province. Once upon a time, there was a man named Koreki, the son of a scholar named Fujiwara no Tamiyoshi, who served as the governor of Etchū province. When Tamiyoshi became the governor, Koreki was a courtier in charge of the provincial treasury. However, he fell gravely ill on his journey and, despite his condition, did not wish to stop, arriving at his home only to find his health severely diminished. When his father, Tamiyoshi, heard that Koreki was arriving, he rejoiced and awaited him. But seeing his son in such a weakened state, he was filled with astonishment and lamentation. Even as he made every effort to care for Koreki, his condition continued to worsen, leading Tamiyoshi to say, "This world holds no further value. Think only of the next life." He called for a wise monk to stay by Koreki's side, hoping to encourage him with prayers and chants. The monk, leaning into Koreki's ear, began to teach him about the sufferings of hell, describing them in detail. The agony is endless, and words cannot fully express it. First, in the Cho, the intermediate state between death and rebirth, where nothing but desolation exists and even animals are absent, one feels a profound loneliness and longs for the things of this world. Try to comprehend this. Hearing this, Koreki replied quietly, "In that Cho, will there be sounds of the pine crickets or the rustling of leaves in the wind?" The monk, taken aback by this, retorted, "Why do you ask such things?" Koreki answered, "If I could see them, it would surely be a comfort." The monk, finding this response quite mad, quickly left. Tamiyoshi, determined to keep watch over his son as long as he could, sat by his side. Noticing Koreki raising both hands, he thought to himself, could he be trying to write something? A nearby attendant, realizing this, offered him paper and a wet brush, and Koreki wrote, "Even in the capital, there are many lonely souls. How can I bear to face this moment?" He stopped writing, unable to finish the last character, and then breathed his last. His father, seeing this, said, "So it has come to this," and took the incomplete character to keep as a memento, weeping as he placed it in a safe spot. Tears soaked it, and it eventually fell apart. When Tamiyoshi returned to the capital and shared the story, those who heard it were deeply saddened. Reflecting on this, one might wonder what sins could lead to such a fate. It is indeed difficult for those who die with thoughts of the three treasures to escape the path of evil. Koreki, having strayed from that path, suffered this sorrowful end. Thus, the tale has been passed down.